There's an alarming rumor that's making Maranello shake. Some people are saying Ferrari is an assured disaster for 2026. And now a worrying voice is spreading that's rattling the Scuderia before the season even starts. They're developing two cars. Ralf Schumacher just dropped a massive bomb in the latest episode of Sky Germany's Backstage Box and Gossip podcast. The disaster, as you can already hear being said between the lines, seems to be once again Ferrari. They're developing two cars, and I can almost imagine why, given that Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have completely different opinions about the car. If that's the case, then it's a disaster from the very beginning. But is this really true? Is Ferrari actually developing two separate cars? And what would happen to Vasseur if the SF-26 isn't competitive? The Maranello squad is preparing for the 2026 season with plenty of silence during the winter. Ferrari will present the SF-26 at Fiorano on January 23rd. But there's someone who's launched a worrying alarm suggesting the Italian team is already a disaster before the championship even begins. Stay with me because what I'm about to tell you will change everything. The Maranello squad is preparing for the 2026 season with considerable silence during winter. Ferrari will unveil the SF-26 at Fiorano on January 23rd. But there's someone who sounded a concerning alarm suggesting the Italian team is already heading toward disaster before the championship starts. There are many rumors about the prancing horse, as always. Often many aren't true, especially from former drivers who never drove for the Cavallino. Ferrari is going through an internal reorganization including movements with WEC, fresh off winning the Hypercar Championship. The SF-26 will be innovative with several technical solutions, including the livery. The wait is almost over, and even though Vasseur's low-profile approach aims to keep the team out of the spotlight, some are attacking, revealing why Ferrari will be a disaster in 2026. Ralf Schumacher, in the latest Backstage Box and Gossip podcast from Sky Germany, launched a massive alarm. His words are incredibly strong and have made rounds throughout the paddock, creating serious concern among Ferrari fans. The disaster, as you can already hear being said between the lines, seems to be once again Ferrari. This is what stands out most. They're developing two cars, and I can almost imagine why, given that Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have completely different opinions about the car. If that's the case, then it's a disaster from the very beginning. I've always said it because you can't develop two cars. These are Ralf Schumacher's exact words that have sparked significant debate in the Formula One world. But is this really the case? Is Ferrari actually developing two separate cars? This hypothesis is highly unlikely. While development is followed by drivers, a Formula One team in the cost cap era cannot afford to build two different cars. It would be an enormous waste of resources no team can allow. The budget cap imposes strict spending limits. Developing two completely different cars would double development, production, testing, and update costs. It's impossible while respecting the FIA spending ceiling. At Fiorano and at the Barcelona tests, we'll see a first version of the SF-26, and in Bahrain, a B version that will have updates but no radical overhaul. This is Ferrari's normal development strategy. It absolutely doesn't mean they're developing two different cars. Version A will be the one presented at Fiorano on January 23rd and used in the Barcelona test from January 26th to 30th. It'll serve to validate the car's basic concepts, test the power unit's reliability, and collect initial aerodynamic data. Version B will arrive for the Bahrain tests in mid-February and for the first race in Australia. It'll have targeted updates based on data collected in Barcelona, but it'll still be the same car with the same design philosophy. There won't be any radical overhaul, just optimizations. This is the standard approach of all Formula One teams. Nobody develops two completely different cars. Everyone starts with a base version and then brings progressive updates during the season, based on data collected on track. It's true that Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have completely different opinions about the car. Leclerc prefers a very precise front end, even at the expense of a more unstable rear, while Hamilton wants a responsive front but needs a planted rear end to apply throttle. But this doesn't mean Ferrari has to develop two different cars. It means they need to find a compromise that allows both drivers to be competitive. And this is exactly what they're doing in Maranello with the work of Loic Serra and the technical team. Another point touched on by the Kaiser's brother was Fred Vasseur's possible departure if he fails to deliver a competitive car to the track. And here, Ralf Schumacher's words are even heavier and more direct. Everything depends on the team's performance. We have to wait and see how the tests go and also the first two races. Obviously, if things don't go well, then there will be decisions to make. Everything was concentrated on this year. We were told that from China onwards, they wouldn't do anything else. Only the new car, so we expect to be more competitive. If that doesn't happen, there would be changes. I'm quite sure of that. But everyone knows that. It's not news at Ferrari. There's a wonderful statistic about how many team principals there have been, and how many drivers have been replaced. These words make clear just how enormous the pressure on Vasseur is. If the SF-26 isn't competitive right from the start, he could pay with his job. And it's true that Ferrari completely sacrificed the second part of the 2025 season to concentrate on 2026. From the Chinese Grand Prix onwards, no significant updates were brought to the SF-25. All development was focused on the SF-26. This means expectations are sky high. Ferrari can't afford another year of disappointments after giving up the second part of 2025. They must start strong right from the first race in Australia and fight for the championship immediately. And Ralf Schumacher is right when he says there's a wonderful statistic about how many team principals Ferrari has had. The pressure has always been enormous, and whoever doesn't bring results gets replaced quickly. Vasseur knows this well and is working under incredible pressure, but Vasseur has also brought important changes to Ferrari's technical structure. He convinced Loic Serra to leave Mercedes and come to Maranello. He reorganized the departments. He imposed a more rational and less emotional approach. He deserves time to see the fruits of his work. Here's the situation. Ferrari assured disaster in 2026, according to Ralf Schumacher. Alarming voice shaking Maranello. They're developing two cars because Leclerc and Hamilton have completely different opinions about the car. If so, disaster from the beginning, you can't develop two cars. Highly unlikely hypothesis. Formula One team with budget cap can't afford to build two different cars. Enormous waste of resources impossible to respect. FIA spending ceiling. Fiorano and Barcelona will show version A of SF-26. Bahrain version B with updates but no radical overhaul. Leclerc-Hamilton different styles true, but Ferrari must find compromise, not develop two cars. Serra and technical team working on this. Vasseur threatened with departure if SF-26 not competitive. Everything depends on performance, tests, and first two races. If not going well, decisions to make. Ferrari sacrificed 2025 from China onwards. Expectations sky high. Can't afford disappointments. History of Ferrari team principals shows enormous pressure. Whoever doesn't bring results gets replaced. But Vasseur deserves time for his structural changes. We'll see on January 23rd at Fiorano whether disaster or hope.